I'd applied to loads of places, got nowhere, and I just thought, what if I make the advertisers come to me and like advertise to advertising agencies?
Yeah, great idea.
So I made a website called recruitwill.com, and it was mimicking David Brent from The Office, which gave me like a free passport to brag about myself and my achievements. But ultimately it was the press, they picked it up, and I got an internship at a London agency, which I hated. People were queuing up to take photos with these like selfie places, and it just thought like, you know, I want to do this B2C thing, why not put all these opportunities in one roof? And that was Selfie Factory sort of born. I met my friend at a pub in Ifield actually and said, look, I've got this crazy idea, do you want to put $5,000 in? He put $5,000 in, I put $5,000 in, we had like £10,000. Yeah, it's now at the O2, which is a really cool place. I did a Maya Jama rap. She ended up seeing it by chance and put in her Instagram story, like dancing along to it. But yeah, even more crazy was a couple of months later, she is the presenter of Glow Up, which is on BBC. I don't think she does it anymore. But they hired Selfie Factory. I told a producer like about the rap, and he was mind blown. He went and got her, brought her over, and
we're welcome. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. How's things?
Yep, all good. It's a rainy day in Crawley.
Yeah.
Same as every day, really. So,
every day's a rainy day.
All good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot in common, actually. I was looking at your profile. You went to Holy Trinity, I noticed. Head boy, one upgraded on me, or a deputy head boy. Then went to Sussex. I just wanted to understand, really, like a bit like where you grew up in Crawley, what inspired you, I guess, like when you were growing up. Just a bit about your background and what you came from.
Yeah, I think I've always been like a Crawley boy through and through. Grew up initially in Langley Green, and we moved to Ifield, and then I was there for I think like 20 years. But yeah, you're right, it was Holy Trinity, and I was head boy, but I only applied for deputy head boy. But I think the candidates weren't up to scratch for a head boy, so I got promoted somehow, which God knows why.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sussex after that, so yeah, very similar path, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of inspiration in Crawley, I think it's always the people, I guess. It's we had a good group of people in Ifield, where I grew up. You know, you'd knock on someone's house, they'd come out to play, and we'd do cricket in the street and wind people up. And yeah, I think that was it was good. Ifield was a good place to be brought up, and still got some good friends now from those days as well.
Great. And I guess you've gone on to, going to marketing, and that's your business. So what were the early things, I guess, that inspired you into that area? What were you doing things as a kid in that area, or did it all of a sudden happen as you got a bit older? Yeah,
I think we sort of fell into the video world when YouTube sort of first started. We were doing like gaming videos on like, you have to get these things on eBay, and they're like streaming devices. You plug into like 10 different things, and we'd be doing like Saints Row and all these weird Xbox games. We'd be posting footage on YouTube very early on, getting lots of views because no one was posting on YouTube. And then we were doing like James Bond sketches and all sorts of weird things. And I think that love for video is still what I do today. And to be honest, I haven't grown up from 15 years ago when it was like 14 years old. But interestingly, I used to do it with my brother. And my brother is now, he's a full-time YouTuber. So
is he?
His career has just gone from like being 12 or whatever at the time to making videos, and he still makes videos now. And
wow.
The third guy, Callum, he's a video marketer. So all three of us have gone on to do weird video stuff. So. And I actually found a phone that I had growing up, and there's so much footage on it that I must have been like the cameraman of our childhood, and there's so many memories on there that we hadn't seen before. So for my brother's birthday, I got him like a memory stick with all these old videos on it, and they're all sketches and skits, very similar to like TikTok now. And again, I think the comedy hasn't advanced at all. It's just been doing the same stuff for the last 15 years really. I suppose around the time you were kind of just getting into the sort of work world and like thinking about what you're going to do, that whole thing exploded, I suppose, didn't it? I guess it was the early days, wasn't it, when YouTube just started, and so you were like experimenting basically. Yeah, I think we gutted that we didn't take it more seriously, because I think we'd have been, PewDiePie or something like now, and 10 different houses. But yeah, we're just very lazy. It was just for fun, and it still is for fun mainly. So yeah, it's just a deep love for creating silly videos that people enjoy.
So what were the steps, I suppose, like from like uni to starting your own business? What inspired you to like do that, to go on your own? Because it's quite a brave thing, I suppose, when you, especially probably, when was it, 10 years ago or so, 8-10 years ago when you did it. It's quite a brave thing to go on your own, isn't it? So
yeah, I did. I think I'd always read like Duncan Bannatyne's like autobiographies and stuff growing up. I think there was always a little spark there. And my granddad's Popo, he had his own business, so he used to take me out, and he did like what's it called? He did like boilers and stuff for like schools, and he just had to commission them, and often it was just slapping a sticker on and like invoicing them, and he'd always give me like £100 for going out with him and stuff. And I thought that was quite a cool way of life. So I went to Sussex and I did business and management studies, thinking it would be quite practical, learning how to start a business, but it was none of that. It was more like Peep Show, and he says business secrets of the pharaohs, and it was all sort of weird abstract learning. So I didn't really enjoy it at uni, but I knew I wanted to do something on my own. So I left uni and tried starting this marketing agency, and sort of failed for a good couple of years, and it was on its last legs. And then I ended up getting a job in marketing for like an estate agent just outside of Crawley, and it was in like a stuffy little attic, and I'm quite a tall guy, so it was constantly stooping over like in this old building, and it was I think 8 till 6 p.m. So it was a long work day. There wasn't a lot to do, so it was very boring, and I just thought I've got to do something to get out of this. And I think that's where I really started pushing for doing something of my own.
Yeah. Did I see that you applied for a job did you start your own website or something?
Yeah.
Put it out.
Again, it was I left uni and I knew I wanted to do like advertising or something creative. Just like you've got the creative streak, and I think it's very difficult to get into advertising. It's like a cutthroat industry, and being so sort of wet behind the ears and naive to how the world works in terms of work, I thought there must be advertising agencies in Crawley or something, but turns out they're all in London. There's all sort of internships to try and get into them. I'd applied to loads of places, got nowhere, and I just thought, what if I make the advertisers come to me and like advertise to advertising agencies?
Yeah, great idea.
So I made a website called recruitwill.com. I made a video in my mum and dad's shed, which is very much like this. And it was mimicking David Brent from The Office, which gave me like a free passport to brag about myself and my achievements, send it out to these people. And I ran Google AdWords on CEOs, their own names. So if they Googled themselves, it came up with an advert like, hey, Warren, searching for yourself again, I'm searching for a job. And then it took them to the website. And but ultimately it was the press, they picked it up, and I got an internship at a London agency, which I hated, to be honest, but it was a good leg up into the world of advertising.
You only know by experiencing these things, don't you, if you enjoy it or not. Well, that's like, it's incredible you did that. What year was that around?
It must have been just after finishing uni, and I'm useless at times, so it must have been, as you say, like 10 years ago.
I was wondering if it was around the time of the sort of recession, financial crisis, because I suppose it's tough. Tough times then anyway, wasn't it? So trying to get a job around there as well. I remember trying the whole of Crawley, like the Crawley News.
I got involved.
Oh, really?
But it was, I had like a photo shoot in Manor Royal, like holding up this like leaflet thing. And, but it was, it went well. There was a guy called Michael Sugden, who runs like VCCB, who did like EasyJet and like Compare the Meerkat and stuff, and he took it under his wing. But it just didn't go anywhere, and I didn't enjoy the commute or anything. So again, it was a good learning thing, but it didn't really go anywhere.
And was it like did you feel like you just wanted to do your thing, basically? So you had that entrepreneurial spirit, I suppose, to...
I think it's difficult, like, in the world of business, like, as you know, there's so much, like, bureaucracy and all this, like, red tape, and they initially put me into, like, a accounts role, so working with the clients and stuff, which I thought, I'd done this whole thing to try and be creative, and I had to be writing ads, and then it turned out that it's a certain way in the advertising industry. You've got copywriter, you've got someone who does the artwork, and it all became a bit... I don't know, of a challenge. I just thought, let's sort of make my own rules and do it myself and really try and sort of create this thing that I want to do.
you could be hands-on with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Involved in the creative process. Yeah. I guess like you're a bit ahead of the curve almost. Like you've kind of, you know, if you're thinking about marketing back in the day, it was all like TV, advertising, trying to get attention or get awareness through that. But now I suppose the digital arena is the place to be. And I suppose when I see your stuff, I always find it really inspiring because I think, we was always one step ahead of the game. How did was it just natural, I suppose, that you developed that? I guess was it different playing around, but you developed that style?
I think the style is probably just getting attention. It's probably like somewhere deep in my childhood, just like things like wanting attention all the time. Yeah. But yeah, I think we became sort of obsessed with like views, and you know that evolved into like the top of the marketing funnel being like awareness, and it became like a tool which could be utilized. But ultimately, I think you know people, they've got busy lives, and so many people create boring content. But I think if you just entertain people, you get rewarded with you know attention. And I think it almost became like a hook strategy, just adding as many hooks like, how can we make people care about this? How can we make people care about this? And a video was a great way to do that. So that's always been the approach. And as you say, like with TikTok and everything, it's almost caught up now. So being a one-trick pony, it's like, okay, what do I do next?
Always looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of people, well, I first heard about you through like Crawley TV. That was the thing that like, I was like, these guys, this stuff's great that they're producing. And I've never really seen anyone do that around Crawley and stuff. So how did all that come around? Did you enjoy doing that? Like, what did that lead to, I suppose, when you did that?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, Crawley TV. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I think we'd, again, trying to make this marketing agency, trying to get clients. And again, how do you do that? You get attention. And we just thought, how can we do this that isn't like marketing to people? How can we, again, entertain people? And Crawley was the target audience. You know, we'd been Crawley through and through. We knew Crawley people, they've got a great sense of humour. It's very tongue-in-cheek and traditional sort of, you know, British. You take the piss out yourself, and Crawley was great for that. So we thought, how do we make meme content, almost like a Lad Bible account for Crawley itself. And yeah, it was really great sort of practice for like, we wrote raps and we did like short stories and all these different ways of like testing stuff. But I think we thought it would evolve into like paid or like clients, and we got like a taxi company client off the back of it. But ultimately there was a lot of views, but it turned into like just free entertainment. And we were like,
they pay the bills.
It's a lot of work for not a lot of gain. But I guess like big fish in a small pond, and then we've taken the learnings from that and applied it to bigger stuff, and it works there as well. But gutted it didn't work out to be like a small TV show for Crawley, because it was really fun making that sort of stuff.
And I suppose a good like learning ground, wasn't it, like you said, to experiment and try stuff. And I guess you said you got your business Royalty 3, which has like gone on to great success, and you've got your TikTok business now, haven't you, as well, and the Selfie Factory, which has also gone massive. So how did all that come around as well? Like, how did you go from, I guess, where you were Crawley to getting to that point?
So Royalty 3 again was the thing that I was doing from my parents' bedroom. Sort of again struggling. Like, it was really frustrating because we had all the right ingredients, but like the recipe just wasn't working. So I think as time went on, like my parents were starting to be like, you know, when's this guy going to do something with life? And day after day I'd wake up, like mash out emails or something, and nothing happened. So eventually we got it was a trampoline park in Chichester. And it was Base Point Crawley, do you know? So I booked a room there. They wanted a meeting, got an intro with them. They were 3 young entrepreneurs. I thought, okay, I can't invite them around to my mum's, bedroom. I have to admit, I set up this meeting
professional
at Base Point, went and bought a suit, and it went really well. And I think the thing was retargeting. They were like, there was like a story about one had seen like trainers chasing them across the internet. I said how it did that, and from that moment their mind was blown. And it was our first client. So from that point, Royalty 3 grew and grew. We moved into an office where you worked as well, which was good fun.
I remember those days. Forget that.
But at one point, I don't know, it sort of fell through, and I think we tried growing too fast and reduced it back a bit. but yeah, it's grown since then. But yeah, there was like a catalyst moment within that, and it was a guy called Thomas Matthews, and he's like a young entrepreneur about my age, and he ran it was like a total wipeout experience at was it Furnace Green Park? One
about it, yeah.
But we got in touch with him and worked with him, and he did a really great job, and it's just him on his own, and he doesn't like have social media or anything, and it just blew my mind that this one guy could just do something amazing. I'd get loads of customers to come up. Previously I thought it was like chains.
Yeah.
I don't know, Hollywood Bowl, and I think that's where the inspiration for Selfie Factory came from. Like it lit a spark that I wanted to do something B2C.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we went to America, and we...
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, we did like a little road trip, and everywhere, whether it's like the Ball at Wall Street or like a Pink Wall in LA, like people were queuing up to take photos with these like selfie places. And it just thought like, I want to do this B2C thing. Why not put all these opportunities in one roof? And that was Selfie Factory sort of born. We started it in Brighton. I met my friend at a pub in Ifield actually, and said, look, I've got this crazy idea. Do you want to put $5,000 in? He put $5,000 in, I put $5,000 in. We had like £10,000.
Yeah.
We did this run at Brighton. His dad's did all the carpentry and everything, and like we were there the morning of like doing all the sticking on stuff. But it was like a proof of concept. It went really well, and it's been there for a couple of years now. So
wow.
Yeah.
And is it there like on the nights of the gigs and stuff, concerts that people can go in?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know the O2's got a shopping outlet.
Of course, yeah.
It's like the O2's a big clock, and it's got like food district, it's got like entertainment, there's like a shopping thing, so we sort of snuck in there in the back door, and but yeah, on event nights you get lots of people walking past, and yeah, it's a really cool place to be.
It's amazing. It just goes to show, doesn't it? If you have an idea, go for it. Obviously might not go to where you want it to be, but there's a good chance that you can take it to places. I guess what I'm interested in that is it must quite a nerve-wracking thing, isn't it? Trying to, I'm nervous to do this podcast. It's the first time I've done it. So, like, how do you manage that, I suppose? Do you just think, I'm going to go for it, like, you only get one life kind of thing? What's your mindset must be quite clumsy, I suppose.
I guess so. It's, I think, well, the story I've told you is very, it's from A to Z, but there's, all sorts of up and downs in between that. And there's time where you hate life, and even like the businesses with my wife as well. And like, there's so many different difficulties there, just sort of working with your partner in business, and then, eating dinners together straight after and stuff. So, but attitude wise, I think it's just, again, as I say, I think it's initially, we only risk what we could afford to lose. Yeah. And then it'll be totally different if, it was investing life savings and potentially being bankrupt. But I think my philosophy has always been like, start really small and just grow up and up and up. So it is a risk. Yeah. But it's probably like a little bit of money, and time is probably the biggest thing. But at the end of the day, it's cool. It's worth it. And as you say, like a YOLO mentality, might as well just see what happens. Yeah.
It's not managed risk, I suppose.
It's
to the point where you're gonna like end up on the streets,
sell your possessions, and
well, it's amazing that you've gone to that. I do see it a lot around, people talking about it. So it's obviously caught people's imaginations a bit, which is great.
Yeah, it's weird and wonderful, and I think that's why it gets attention again. It's just something a bit different, which people talk about, and you hate it or love it, but people will go there and take selfies. That's it.
And I don't know if it's off the back of that, but you wrote a book, which is here, obviously. What inspired you to do that, I suppose?
Again, I think, you're from a marketing background. I've always been very good at marketing other people, but very poor at marketing myself. Yeah. And I think part of that was being like a sort of shotgun approach, like ADHD, like let's do this, Selfie Factory, Royalty 3, it does websites, it does marketing, it does email, it does everything. Whereas what I thought would be good if it was like a sniper instead. I'd read it 100 times before, like focus on one thing. TikTok came out in lockdown. I'd sort of played about with it. I got 100,000 followers just honestly messing around. Again, it was like the YouTube thing, like got on it so early on that it was so easy to make an audience. Yeah. And then my page just hasn't grown for like the last 2 years. But yeah, I sort of learned what worked on TikTok and what didn't. And again, it's like, how could I employ this to marketing, like helping businesses? And I thought, let's just go all in on TikTok. Let's make a company dedicated to helping companies build their TikToks. How do I do that? A book would be a good sort of lead magnet. Wrote this book, which again, I think helped build my philosophy, like the approach. In my mind, it was all sort of a mess, but having it written down sort of... Yeah. I tested all the theories on like a couple of accounts and it seemed to work, so I thought I'd release it to the public. And but yeah, it's been a really good sort of blueprint, taking on new clients, like working out how's the best way to approach this. And you know, it's $5.99, but we charge a lot more money using the same philosophies when working with clients. So it's it's a really good snapshot of how to make TikTok work for you.
I thought it was great, and like a really simple way of explaining the way it works. I think I remember that when it came out, TikTok, or when it was sort of going big in 2020, and you get brands like trying to jump on it and trying to do what they're trying to do on Instagram or Facebook, and actually it's a completely different thing. And that, I think what your book does is kind of, if there's a brand like looking to how to do TikTok, this is the book they should look at, basically.
Yeah, thank you. It was,
yeah.
But I think even for me, it was, again, like you're doing this, you want to scratch that creative itch.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, I want to do something, publish something, and all I did was set out like an hour a day, and I think just over a few weeks or whatever, it was built out, and it turns into something cool. And Amazon, if anyone ever wants to, you know, publish a book, the Amazon, do it on there. It's really easy to do, and someone buys it, they print the whole book, and it gets delivered. It's it just turns like a Google Doc into like a real thing, which is just bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's amazing these days, isn't it? You could just write a book, get it out there. It's not like the old days, is it? Where you got to get it in the bookshop, and anyone could do it. Anyone could do it. I guess along the way, you've probably had. I've seen it on your social profiles, but you've probably had some amazing encounters. So like, I'm thinking the Maya Jama thing. Are there any like things that stand out like throughout that whole period that just like, oh God, how's this happened kind of thing?
Yeah, I think starting off the Maya Jama one, that was again in lockdown. Everyone was bored, you know. I decided I wanted to learn how to rap. So I read 2 books on how to rap, and I was like, well, I probably can't learn how to rap from a book, and I ended up, you know, doing like YouTube tutorials and learn how to rap, and I needed a subject to practice with, and I think it was like Maya Jama and Stormzy were big at the time, so I did a Maya Jama rap. She ended up seeing it by chance and put in her Instagram story, like dancing along to it, which blew my mind that, you know, you can just DM a celeb and they repost it. And, but yeah, even more crazy was a couple of months later, she is the presenter of Glow Up, which is on BBC. I don't think she does it anymore. But they hired Selfie Factory as a shoot location for a show. I was there. We were working on like a unit opposite because we were expanding. I told a producer like about the rap, and he was mind blown. He went and got her, brought her over, and he was like, "This is the guy who did the rap," and I was like, it was like a kid like on a playground, like, "This guy fancies you." I was just sat there like, what do I say? But yeah, she said she really enjoyed it. But again, I think, as I say, it's like there was a moment in life where I realised that like adults, I was like a teenager, and I realised that adults are just big teenagers, and like businesses, as you know now, it's like people just making tea and like doing work. You can email someone and they'll actually see it. And I emailed Dan Walker. Match of the Day, and what was it, the BBC Good Morning?
BBC Breakfast.
BBC Breakfast. Because he was from Crawley, and I just said, "Can we have a chat?" And he went, "Yeah, come to BBC HQ." Or you were there last week, Television Centre.
Yes, yeah.
But he said, "Come along, and we'll do an interview just like this." And I was really nervous. I was like, how on earth have I just got into the BBC building or back an email? He was so nice. It turns out my parents live on the same road as his parents, so he's familiar with that bit of Highfield. And really nice guy, but it just blew my mind that that can happen. And all we've done is like repeated that. Stephen Mulhern at the Wharf, we emailed the Wharf like, "Can we speak to Stephen about the Panto?" And he was like, So we interviewed him about kebab shops in Crawley and like stupid stuff like that.
I've been doing my research. I was watching it actually the other day because I remember you doing it, and Yeah, it's great. And the Dan Walker one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
good.
I think it's people don't realize that if you ask someone the right thing, like in a DM or like it actually happen, and it's, to me, that's so like refreshing that those opportunities are there. So just shoot the shot, and the worst can happen is they say no, really.
Yeah.
But obviously there's been like some not nice people along the way, but it's worth it to meet people like Dan Walker who are just so nice.
And I guess, what does the future hold for you guys and like your business? Are you looking to expand, take the selfie factory further? What else is coming up, I suppose?
It's just doing stuff that's fun. We've just got a new client for the TikTok stuff, and we did like a tank crush like a couple of weeks ago. We're doing like bungee jumping on Monday, and
Wow.
it's doing fun projects, I think. But to me, I'd like to work with like some big brands. I think we've proven ourselves, with Tango Ice Blast, and we're doing some really cool stuff on TikTok, and it just blows my mind that whenever I see someone doing like good stuff, I'll outreach and say that, can we work together? Or but it's crazy to me that we've got all these like hundreds of millions of views for brands, and then you don't have people in your inbox like, can you do it for us? And I think that's sort of a frustration at the moment. So I'm trying to map out, how do I get in front of these brands and do it for them as well.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because when you see what you're doing, I just assume people must be jumping all over this stuff. Like, it's gold, and it's getting results. So it's interesting that you're not seeing that. It's bizarre.
I think, as I said earlier, it's the good at marketing other people, not good at marketing myself. So I think that'll probably be the switch you'll see in the future, like actually properly, not just taking like a random photo and like putting a story on LinkedIn. It'll be like the content strategy and proper marketing, which again is exciting. I think we'll do something fun there, but yeah, it'd be cool to do, I guess, like a TV ad or do something on Netflix or something even like bigger. I think just keep growing in a different way to just Molly and everything.
So the plan is to keep growing that business, basically, as big as you can, I suppose.
But having fun at the same time.
So that's the danger, isn't it? You sometimes when you go too big, you kind of lose that element of fun, and it becomes laborious, I suppose.
And I think the more you go on, the more you become like a meeting person, a meeting man, instead of like, it's good to get back and create stuff. And I think that's where I want to stay, like being creative, getting results, but having fun and doing silly stuff. I think keeping it silly is important. I 100% agree. Keep doing what you're doing, definitely. I guess if if someone's looking to do the same thing out there, someone from Crawley, I don't know, lives in Icefield or Lenny Green, like where you grew up, and they wanted to sort of start their own business or get into this world, what advice would you give them, I suppose? I think about this a lot. I think A, is hard, so I think patience is key. B, I think you can reduce the frustration if you only invest like a certain amount of money, as I say, so you don't have everything on the line. And just grow it that way. And with social media and everything, there's so many different ways to grow a business of any sort. So only invest what you can, so your life isn't depending on it. And then C, as we were just discussing, I think just shoot your shot, email people, try things. I think you quickly realise that the world is a lot, smaller, and you can do stuff. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying stuff, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think that's what I'd be doing. A little bit of money, invest it, see what happens, and just reinvest those profits and go from there.
It's so easy to be sort of scared of putting yourself out there as well, isn't it? Sometimes that it can hold you back. So I think like that advice of just going for it is really valid. And you've just turned 40, is that? I'm
about to turn 30, so it's in these milestones, it's scarier than ever. And I think again, if you're a young person, you do this stuff earlier on and before you have like the kids and everything, and even if you're living at home, like you've got nothing to lose, so just try random things and something might come off.
It's true. I must admit, turning 40 was quite scary. One guy, basically, is proper middle age now.
It's big. The decade milestones, I think, will always be scary at any age. But again, anyone 20 out there, I think this is the time to, you've got so many less responsibilities than you think you have, and probably more time than you think you've got. So
and I think they've got so much access to stuff now, haven't you? probably there's obviously a lot more competition, I suppose, from that point of view. But anyone can just go and start a social media profile, and you can go and put a book like you did on Amazon.
Yeah. And again, one of the other key things, as always, is to be different, keep it fresh, and probably read the book. some different hooks to make you stand out from everyone else doing the same sort of stuff.